Welcome to Treasure Valley Podcast. I'm Chuck. Today's episode is brought to you by LowerGentry Studios. LowerGentry Studios has a web series that's called Canyon County that is definitely worth watching. The first episode is available right now. It's about 10 minutes long. Episodes 2 through 9 will be coming out later this year. Like and subscribe to get those updates. Today, I sit down with Todd Dunnigan of Afrosonics. Afrosonics is a band that will be featured this year at Treefort. It's a Treasure Valley band. They are a lot of fun to listen to. They're a lot of fun to see live. You should check them out. We don't know what time they're going to be playing just yet and what day, but like and subscribe to their social media. Check them out on Spotify and keep yourself in the loop and enjoy the podcast.
Rich people, rich shall come together. Know that they're your brother, yeah, and your sisters too. Oh yeah.
Welcome, Todd. Thanks for coming on and to chat about your music.
Thanks for having us. I love that you're doing this.
Sweet, thanks. Afrosonics.
Afrosonics.
How long have you guys been in a group?
They started off as just kind of a reggae cover band called United Roots about 6 years ago. And then just kind of as members changed and there's turnover in the band, it sort of morphed into Afrosonics. The current Afrosonics lineup is probably like 2 years old, two and a half years old.
Okay.
But been a band 6-7 years or so.
Okay. And you guys play Treasure Valley.
We play Treasure Valley. Well,
where else have you gone?
Northwest. You
Okay.
know, we've hit all the big Northwest play. You know, Seattle, Spokane, Portland, and then over into like Missoula, Helena, Bozeman. You know, Boise, of course, McCall. So yeah, we're spreading the tentacles out to the Northwest. Last summer we did our first tour ever.
Oh, cool.
And then this. I'm sorry, summer before last we did our first tour ever. Then this summer we expanded on that tour, and then hopefully next summer, or this upcoming summer, we want to get down to California. That's the next goal, is
Right
to
on.
work the I-5. You know, start Seattle and then maybe play down to LA along the I-5.
Cool. How's the turnout out of town?
Really good. I'm shocked because, you know, your first gigs out of town are almost always throwaways, just because it's like you got to get into a club on a Monday night or something to just let them see you, to see that you have something to offer, because of course there's 80 billion bands out there and they're all trying to gun in for the dates. And so you got to sort of prove yourself, at least to the club owner or whoever, that, hey, you know, this is a quality band or whatever. But we've been really fortunate. We've gotten really good crowds first time at most places that we play. And we work the Facebook advertising and things like that. We work pretty hard to promote, but we've been really lucky. And we also, the Afrosonics are a very good band for a Live After 5 types of events. And so we will seek out the Live After 5 in Billings or Helena or, you know, Coeur d'Alene or something, and try and play that, because there's a built-in crowd there.
Yeah.
You know, there's already guaranteed going to be 400 or 500 people there. So we love playing those, because we feel like, you know, if we can get in front of a crowd, we can win them over. But yeah, it's hard to get people off their couch just for something called Afrosonics. I don't know. Is that fun? I'm binge watching Making a Murderer. I don't have time, you know, to go see a new band.
That's a constant battle.
Yeah,
that's a constant battle. I bet. My brother and I do film stuff, and so we're always trying to like push our material up to the top of the heap of what's the name of that band? Arcade Fire did, in their latest album, they had a song called Infinite Content. I don't know if you're
Well, that's what it seems like. I mean, yeah, there's just and I think it's great. You know, quality content can be made by one guy in his bedroom, you know, whether it be, you know, an album or a film or whatever his thing is. And it can, you know, in the 80s, if you say a guy made a film in his bedroom, you're like, ugh, that's going to be horrible.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays, guy made in his bedroom could be the next Citizen Kane. We don't know, you know.
Totally. So. And the music scene, that's got to be, and this has to be an interesting time to be playing. The last time I was actively in a band was probably about 15 years ago, and it was definitely a lot different. I feel like now with the computer technology and the sound. And you play keyboard,
Right?
And I just recently got a MIDI input, and it's just amazing.
Oh,
the
yeah.
stuff that you can do by yourself.
Exactly.
I had a loop station on when those first came out on my guitar, and it like blew my mind.
Right.
You know, and now it's just like a completely different scene.
Yeah, I started in the late 80s, early 90s. I had a recording studio called the Audio Lab. I would say actually it's still going.
Oh, okay.
But I did that for 10 and 12 years or so. And I remember, so when we opened the Audio Lab in, I think 1990, it would take 10 studios full of the kind of gear that we had to match what's in your laptop right now.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And I mean, what comes standard on your laptop. I don't mean just like the stuff you buy, you buy a laptop out of the box, stuff you can download from the internet is so far beyond the roomfuls of gear that we had back then. So, I mean, it's a good time. And I also feel like, you think, oh man, there's so much content, it's hard to be heard. But I also feel like the cream rises to the top.
Yeah.
And I feel like it rises to the top easier when there's a sea of crap for it to sit on top of. And I don't want to put down other people's creativity. But you know, there's a lot of people putting out content who are just kind of learning. And so,
yeah,
you know, the stuff they're making now is not as good as the stuff they're going to be making next year, but it still goes out there.
Yeah. Working towards those 10,000 hours.
Yeah, honestly. And the way we did it back in the day, because I'm an old guy, back in the day, you didn't have the option to just put out every thought, every demo, everything that, the avenues just weren't there. You worked on your songs in practice to eventually make this album, which was going to cost you a ton of money to make the album and then, of course, press it up and put it out. And so there weren't a ton of people doing it. You had to be super dedicated to getting that album out there. Now you just, whip it together in your bedroom, load it up on Spotify, and it's worldwide.
Yeah.
So,
how does that work? I'm curious about Spotify because I found your album.
Yeah.
I pay for Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty amazing as far as like me as a consumer.
Right.
I don't know how it works on the artist end. I'm sure if I'm paying $10 a month, it's not like they're paying a whole lot of money out to.
Artists are very, some artists are super incensed about Spotify because they'll see their statement and if you want to break it down to that play, someone in the UK played my song and I got 0.00001 cent for that play. It takes a whole. What did I read? Mariah Carey had the most plays in one day ever. She set the Spotify record, and I think it was 11 million plays for Christmas. That Christmas song of hers escapes me right now.
Okay.
And that turned out to be about $90,000.
Oh, wow.
11 million plays turned into $90,000. But and so people would complain, we're being ripped off and stuff and this and that. But Spotify is kind of like the new radio. And when radio was a thing, it was hard to get credit for your plays. You had to get so many plays to be noticed among, Michael Jackson getting plays and Nirvana getting plays and everything else. You had to get so many plays just to get into the game. And then once you did, the radio paid about that same rate. If you got played on the radio in Poughkeepsie, you probably got 0.001 cent for that play if it was on the radio. So I don't see a huge difference. I don't know. Musicians need stuff to bitch about.
I think it's just the ongoing plight of the artist is trying to get enough money to make it your living, which
it really is. And at this point in Afrosonics' career, it's like I don't care about the 0.001 cents. I just care about someone hearing the music. You know? We'll work the money thing later once we get enough people liking the music, and
then get clever as far as how you can leverage that.
Once we have a big audience to work with, then we can figure out how to sell them a vinyl, sell them a t-shirt or some other type of thing. That's the game nowadays. It used to be you would put out your album and a way for people to hear your music was to have that actual album, and so that was the thing. Now of course that's not a thing anymore. You don't have to have that physical thing for people to hear your music. So you just got to find other physical things to sell them. Get the music hooked on what you're about. And what your vibe is, and then try and move them into selling something based on that. And of course, live shows are still king when it comes to making money.
And what would you say Afrosonics is about? I'm curious because you mentioned that.
Yeah. We're definitely about trying to keep, positive vibes. That would be first and foremost type of thing. We don't, we're not a band that's going to come out and be like, I hate my dad. I hate my, you're never going to hear anything.
It kind of wouldn't, those lyrics wouldn't go with the rhythms that you have, and at least from what I've heard.
Right.
Yeah.
Some other bands I play with, that would be totally appropriate. And there's certainly a place for that, and that should be out there. But we're just all about trying to keep it positive. We're just like, hey man, everybody love each other. Let's create some rhythm so we can all vibe together. And multiculturalism is a big pillar that holds up the Afrosonics too, because we have members from 3 continents. There's probably 7 or 8 languages spoke amongst the different people in the band, and so we're definitely about one world. The guy that's all the way on the other side of the world in Africa, maybe out in the middle of nowhere, is really not that different than us living here in Boise, Idaho. We kind of have the same motivations. We want to eat, want to sleep, want to have sex. We want to do something fulfilling with our days. Motivations are roughly the same.
Yeah.
The way we dress it up is different, but so that's the multiculturalism is definitely a big thing. So positive multiculturalism, if you want to put it into a catchphrase.
Yeah. And how would you describe your music for people that are listening to this podcast right now?
Well, we like to.
And maybe I can grab a track and check it on at the beginning.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I hope you have a chance to throw on a track or two over the course of this. But we like to think of our music as kind of a stew, in that everyone is bringing their ingredient from their background and where they came from, and putting their ingredient into the stew, and then we stir it all together. So we'll have some African rhythm that's just from deep in the heart of Africa, and then screaming rock guitar over the top of that. And then, I really like electronic music, so heavy maybe on the electronics underneath that. And then stir it up. And that's how we come up with Afrosonics music.
That's pretty slick. No, I definitely could hear that in People Meet Your People, for sure. That was...
it's a little blast of funk, a little blast of electronics. The vocals are definitely from the old school of funk. That's one of our more straight, funky tracks. Then a song like I Mojuba, which is in the Yoruba language, which our lead singer Dio is from Nigeria, and so he grew up speaking Yoruba. And so the I Mojuba is just a phrase that means sort of, like a greeting, peace to you, that type of thing. And so it's cool to incorporate those things into the music too, because then me, from a kid from North Idaho, I get to learn something about Dio's culture, or Katima, our conga player, who was from Congo Brazzaville. He was actually he's a soccer player. He played in the World Cup. He was on a team that played in the World Cup. I just found this out. I've been in a band with him for 3 years. Just found this out a few months ago. It's like, how did we just find it? I feel like that should be the first thing we tell about Afrosonics. It's like, we have a World Cup soccer player in our band.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. I think I made my point.
No, I definitely agree that you've come up with a good synopsis after having listened to the People Meet Your People a few times this week. I really focused in on it. And I like I'm really into percussion and rhythm, and you guys nail that,
right,
I think, on your album. And it's complicated. It would be very difficult, I think, to play some of those rhythmic parts if you're not decent at your instrument,
right? That's true.
It's not bass snare on the 1 and the 3,
right? Yeah, and most times we will probably have at least 3 people playing percussion on stage, and sometimes up to 5.
Oh, cool.
And Ben, our drummer, even though he's he's white kid from Idaho, I mean, African rhythms were just like his thing. He studied it in college.
Oh, cool.
So he's definitely well versed in that style, and a great rock drummer as well when he needs to rock it out.
And what about improv for you guys? Do you guys do a lot of, I just imagine that you probably do a lot of improvisation.
We do, probably not as much as I feel like as a band, we should spend more time, especially at practice, just jamming and improvising. But it's a large band.
That's hard to be tough.
Yeah, it's hard to get together people together to practice, and so our practice time is pretty precious. So when practice time comes, we're usually like, okay, here's the song. We got it mostly kind of worked out. You just need to know your part, and let's work on refining it and practicing together. Live, more improv-y stuff kind of comes out because something will just happen and we'll take off on a jam. And I wish we'd do more of it, but in the future that will come about more. But right now, just for our limited time, we kind of have to have the songs in a pretty finished state before we even start working on them as a band.
So do you, when you write, do you just sit down with another band member, kind of come up with the structure of the song, and then give everybody their parts then when you get together, or how does that work?
Yeah, mostly I will come up with an instrumental type of thing that I like, and then I'll get together with Dio, and Dio has this big book of lyrics, and so he'll start pulling out lyrics, and then
cool.
So me and him will just sit there and kind of
book of lyrics is a really good idea.
Yeah, just look at lyrics and then kind of sing phrases and kind of go stream of consciousness till we find things that we like. And then we'll record our vocals onto that demo, and then we can, at that point, send it out to the band. It's just like, here's the song. It's like 70% there. So learn this part, but don't be married to it. If bass player, if you got an idea to improve this bass line, great. Bass is your realm, and take it and run with it. But for the sake of practice, know this line when we get to practice so we can use this as a launching point.
I suppose that's got to be really nice as far as the changes in technology to be able to record a song that you just wrote 20 minutes ago and then send it out to everybody.
And just so many great things like, okay, we're at rehearsal and now we've worked this song. We kind of rearranged it and moved some parts around, set up the phone, record it. Go to the text list, boom, everybody has the recording right then. It's amazing, so everyone can take it home and listen to it. And because it used to be, especially if you have 9 people in the band, you got to record some crappy cassette, and then you got to find out how to make 9 copies of the cassette and then get them to everybody. And now it's just plink, plink, plink.
Upload it.
It's out there. Yeah.
That's slick.
Love it.
That's slick.
Yeah.
So, playing here locally, do you have a favorite place to play? I was going to ask you about venues and shows that you've done and things that you guys, where you've really hit it off, if you have any stories there.
Oh, sure. My favorite place to play in Boise is definitely El Cora Shrine.
Okay.
It's just, it's a great stage. It's a perfect size room, and it sounds good in there. And love playing there with any band. That's but Afrosonics, man, we had a stellar set there for Treefort last year. And so love playing there. And I also like to do this whenever we can. One of the fun things from our live shows is we will enter from the back of the room. Like the horn players will have their horns. Everyone will be holding some percussion, but all the crowd is up there on the stage waiting for them to come on stage, but we'll come in from the back of the room, just singing with percussion and just march right through the middle of the crowd. And if it's a good crowd, we might form a circle and just sit there and jam percussion for a few minutes and just get everybody super into it that way, and then march up onto the stage, and then the set begins from that point. But that's, it's really fun to start off the set in amongst the people, because that's how we want them to see us. It's like we're not so much a band on stage that's here to entertain you. We're here to try to create a vibe that fills this whole room and brings us all together. So
what is it about percussion that allows
that to I think it's your
work?
Heartbeat, it's just it goes along with your heartbeat. Your body works to a rhythm. We're sitting here right now, your heart is probably on a pretty steady ton 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 ton. And so just everything in life is kind of based on rhythm. We're as humans, we're drawn to patterns. We're drawn to rhythms.
In nature.
Yeah. You find them everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I think we're really drawn to that. What's the word I'm looking? Maybe the order or something feels good.
Yeah.
And rhythm is one of those things when it just makes you feel good. So
that's slick. So Chorus Shrine's your favorite. Do you have a story of a show that you've done here locally that where you, I mean, obviously you like the Chorus Shrine, but what was it about that?
Yeah, I think last year's Treefort set at El Cora I think really we achieved what we wanted in a big way, and just as far as, like I said, we're out here to throw out our rhythm and our positivity to the audience. We want to wrap everybody up in it, and that was one of the times where it just felt like that really worked. I really felt like I was connected to that person in the back of the room. There was a feeling and a vibe in the room, and I just felt like this is the apex of what we do live, and it's what we try to do at every show. Some shows successful, most shows successful actually. Some shows not, and frequently, like I love playing to sometimes where there's more people in the band than there are in the audience. Sometimes I love that feeling of I've been to so many bands over the years, and for a lot of bands that just seems like such a defeat. Man, we got to go up here and play to 4 people. This is terrible. And I think, no, man, these 4 people came out. They deserve the same show that if 4,000 people showed up. They bothered to come, so let's do it. And sometimes we've just had the best time. Last summer in Colorado Springs, we just had this show is a cluster F from the beginning.
Yeah.
We show up to the venue, and it's a big, beautiful venue and a big stage, nice PA systems. And they're like, "Did you guys bring any mics and stands?"
Oh, no.
Well, no. I mean, you guys said you had a PA. And part of having a PA is having mics and stands. That constitutes, if you don't have mics and stands, then you don't quite have a PA. You have part of a PA. And so we just had to rush to Guitar Center, and we bought mics and stands and cables and everything. And this sound guy, he was definitely indulging in some Colorado green.
Okay.
Because I saw him 6 times walking back and forth trying to figure out what is wrong with this mic. And I went over and I picked up the cord, wasn't even plugged in.
Yeah.
It was like, this dude is just walking around in a circle. So, but, we're like, we're not going to let that break our spirit. We're just going to help this guy out. Everyone, all hands on deck. Let's get this stuff plugged in. Let's get these mics set up. And we're still going to do a good show. And yeah, doors open and 4 people come in. I'm like, okay, it's a rough start. Let's maybe give it 15, 20 minutes. And it was clear no one else was coming. So, man, we hit the stage and, just, hey, everybody, all 4, there's like 7 people at this point. Let's all pull in. We're all in this together. Let's have a good time together. If you want to come and hang out on stage, if you play an instrument, come on up, play some percussion with us. And we ended up having the best time with these people. And those 7 people became just like super fans. They're like disciples for the band now.
Cool.
And so...
And you never know when something might go viral on the internet, and all of a sudden you get a huge response out of somebody recording your show for 6 people or whatever.
Yeah, one of the guys there that night, had a radio show on the college radio station, and so of course he started spinning us like crazy. Mm-hmm. It's a great point. You never know who's out there, so it's always good to give. It's always good to give 100%.
Yeah.
Don't let the fact that no one showed up stop you from giving 100%. Your music, the people who showed up deserve your best. Your music deserves your best. The rest of your band deserves your best.
And sometimes if it takes off, at least, I mean, I've played in front of people in a handful of occasions, and then they're in groups where, it is really disappointing at first when there's no crowd there. But then when you settle into it, it's like, the nerves are less. And then you're like, I feel like I can take some risks now with what's going on with the performance. Like you said, just bringing random people up on stage, and you never know what might happen. And sometimes you come up with some really good ideas because you're not concentrating so much on playing the riff correctly or making sure that you're executing the song correctly. You're just more...
You're in the moment.
That moment.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is super cool. Do you have a dream venue? That sounds like a really cool place that you played in Colorado Springs. As far as...
my dream venue, Madison Square Garden.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, I want to sell it out. It's a dream. That's why it's a dream. Probably it's not going to happen, but got to have goals, man.
Yeah, yeah. What groups even sell out Madison Square Garden nowadays?
Oh man,
Coldplay probably.
Sure,
I'm guessing Coldplay.
Who is there? Who did? Oh, like Billy Joel did 50 nights, sold out 50 nights.
Oh wow.
Who LCD Sound System did it like a sort of reunion, sold it out. I don't know if it's that big a venue. I think it's only probably 14 to 15,000 seats. Probably not that much bigger than the Idaho Center.
Oh, okay.
But it's just like it's one of those things. It's in New York. It's got this rep. Yeah, it's Madison Square Garden.
Have you ever been there?
I never have.
Neither have I.
Yeah, it'd just be one of those things. Really cool thing to say you did, or Lincoln Center in Washington D.C. That would be an amazing thing to be able to say. Yeah, we played the Lincoln Center. Yeah, it's cool.
And so you guys are looking at trying to expand into California.
Yes.
Now, and how does that work for a group of your size as far as going on? Man, getting your tours set up, because I was talking to Nick Delfs the other day, and he's just like, well, you just kind of just go. He was telling me how he just kind of impromptu just started going around and playing music.
Nick, has that option because he's such great as a solo artist that he can do that. He can just show up. He can just set up on the street and probably make money.
Yeah,
but
you got 9 people.
Yeah, for us, it's a matter of emailing. You do your research. You find out. Okay, we have. You just like set your anchor dates. We have this Tuesday in Portland, and then we got to be in San Francisco on Friday. So that leaves us Wednesday, Thursday. What's in between Portland and San Francisco? And then you start looking, okay, there's Eugene, there's Medford, there's Klamath Falls, there's Davis, California, Sacramento. Start looking at all those cities and then just getting online. Where does a band like ours play in Sacramento? And then start doing your research, and then you start hammering the emails. And that's the way it's done. Bookers don't like to take calls anymore. Emails, it's all done by that way. And you have to find the right balance between persistent and not being annoying.
Yeah.
If anyone is listening that's in a band, a couple of pieces of advice I would give is the subject line is really important to put your band name, the date you're looking at being there, and what your sound is.
Oh, okay.
So I would go like Afrosonics, looking for March 22nd or 23rd, African funk, positive, multicultural.
And then, so you're basically trying to get the entire email in the subject line so people can just scroll through it.
Because these guys are getting emails. I was sitting next to Eric Gilbert, who does Treefort, and his computer was open, and it was open to his email, and I was just watching ding, 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 one after another. All bands email.
Oh,
him.
Wow!
He's getting literally one a second.
Dang!
And it never lets up.
Eric, if you're watching this, thanks for emailing me back.
Yeah, it's amazing. I can email Eric, and he gets back with me. I don't know how he does it. The guy must not sleep.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting what you're bringing up too, because it seems like there's a lot of non-musical work related to what you do.
Yeah.
What percentage of the time are you working on music when it comes to Afrosonics, and what percentage of the time you're working on administrative?
I'm going to go 50-50.
Dang.
Yeah, because those emails, if they don't know you, they're probably not going to respond to you that first time. You're going to be one of the 75 emails that came in the last hour. So you just gotta kind of keep putting it in there. And then if you get a little bite, you got to follow up, and you do that. That's in addition to setting up recording sessions and thinking about artwork and videos. And there's just, there's so much of it.
What do you usually do for your artwork and getting that other creative processes done?
Dio, lead singer, he's part of a group called Global Lounge, and they're responsible for putting together like the World Village Festival that happens. And
okay.
They also
is that the one that happened just in front of the Capitol building?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I went to that. That was super slick.
Right, that's their sort of signature event.
Good food too.
Really good food. They're also responsible. They put a lot of sort of multicultural type programs in schools. And for instance, Dial and a couple drummers will go into a school and spend like a week teaching kids about drumming.
Oh, nice.
You know, so like an hour a day, they bring a class in and they'll teach them drumming. So they administer programs like that. That's kind of what Global Lounge does. And so
you get some art work from some of those people?
Right. So yeah. So there's a network of people that are involved with Global Lounge, and so actors, dancers, artists, and things like that that we can kind of draw upon for that. And so that's usually our go-to. We're pulling people out of other disciplines that we need, like video. Like we're just about to shoot a video with Ryan Bain. I don't know if you know Ryan Bain, Gregory Bain.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Bain is his brother. Has been doing amazing work with music videos. So we're going to be doing that in a couple weeks.
Oh, music videos are fun.
Yeah.
Music videos are super fun.
Yeah.
The reason I like them is because you don't have to worry about all the audio issues that end up coming out in the woodwork when you're trying to record people live. It drives me bananas.
Yeah.
But that's cool. Which song are you going to do a video for?
It's a brand new song. It's called Joe Baba. Okay. And I think it's a pretty fun concept. The Joe Baba, the lyrics are about, essentially it's just, it's kind of a party thing. Mom is rocking it. Dad's rocking it too. Joe Baba is Mama Kosa. Yeah. Joe Baba is like dad. Mama is mom. And so I think we have a fun concept where we're going to have a couple of, at the beginning of the video, you see people who are like older folks, 60s, 70s kind of older folks. And, they're getting ready to go somewhere. And they're kind of slow, they're slow moving. And you see them working their way to a place, and the place where they eventually end up is this house party where Afrosonics are playing. And as soon as they get to that house party, they just start busting crazy moves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
on.
We got a couple of really great dancers who will, you were at the beginning of it, you'll think they're old people, and then they get to the party and of course the shots of them moving will be kind of grayish and everything, and the party will be very colorful and bright.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, that's the concept in a nutshell.
And then are you throwing that on YouTube then, or what's the plan?
Yeah, we'll just get it on YouTube. It's just it's a way for people to hear a new song, kind of see what we're about.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't done a proper video. We have lots of live videos and a couple of pretty good live videos that we did multi-camera, but
okay.
Everyone has a video these days. A kid in South Dakota forms a band. They've got a video before they have a song out. It seems like these days. So
yeah, that's another aspect that's changing so quickly. Like my brother and I, when we just started with the film stuff, it's even gotten cheaper. Like in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
To be able to crank some of that stuff out.
Yeah, and it's quality,
super high quality on some of the images. I mean, like we were before the smartphones became super popular and the cameras got so good on those, but it's just like you can film on an iPhone,
right?
And it'll look completely 100% okay for most purposes.
Sure.
I mean, obviously like the cinematic stuff, but even some of that stuff is getting so cheap right now. The only issue is hard drive space. It's just
and processing power.
Yeah, so much hard drive space, so much processing power. So what location are you going to be filming?
A former percussionist for the band. His name is Ben Persley. He has a pretty big, nice house that's really perfect for the party scene that we want to do. And then we just need to kind of find we want to find a house that's maybe out towards the desert. So you see the sort of, open space and, this time of year, how it's kind of gray. Yeah. And so we just contrast those two things.
Do you have a bunch of people ready to show up on that?
Yeah, we have about 30 people.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, to make it look like there's a good party going.
That'll be fun.
Yeah,
that'll be fun. So when you recorded your live video, I'm curious about that. That's kind of one of the things that my brother and I have talked about a lot. Is I get really inspired by some of those live, very well done live recordings. Obviously like there's Woodstock 69. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
And then Talking Heads Stop Making Sense was one of my...
So one of the best movies.
Yeah.
Best concert movies ever.
Yeah. What did you guys have set up? And
well, we did one at the Audio Lab, just set up sort of a live in the studio thing.
Oh, okay.
So that was great. So the audio, I mean, we used the audio of us playing live. We didn't
Oh, nice.
So we actually hooked everything up and played live in the studio, and then did a multi-camera thing, and I think currently that's our best looking video that we have right now. And then we have another one that was live, the Village. During the summer, the Village does those outdoor concerts.
Yeah.
So there was a multi-camera shoot of that turned out really, really nice. And then just recently, we did a gig at Nectar in Seattle, and there was a multi-camera shoot that came together pretty nice for that live.
I suppose the audio is a big one too. You got to make sure that the venue has the right.
Yeah. For instance, the one at Nectar, it's camera audio. So
okay.
It's not horrible, but it's not ideal either.
Yeah. Well, there's other ways to get pretty decent live sound out of the speakers. But that the soundboard patch is just like
that's the best. Yeah.
I really would want to take like the setup I have in here with the sound deadeners. I really want to set that. I have another spare room, and I want to get that set up because I have a Mackie mixing board that I'm not really using that has multi-channel.
Nice.
And so hopefully by the next time you come back on, I don't know if I can get 9 people into a room this size, but I'd really like to be able to do some live recordings inside of a room.
That'd be
and
great.
Get super high quality audio out of that.
Right.
I just need some sponsors.
Oh yeah, sponsors.
Give me some sponsors, and then I can invest in like an electronic drum set. Do you think musicians would be interested in that if I had an electronic drum set? It'd just be the logistics of playing in a tiny little room, but NPR does that.
Yeah, they do their tiny desk concerts.
Yeah.
And most bands they practice in a room this size. They're used to it.
Oh, really?
Most bands cram into a bedroom or something like that. Even if you rent out the Hive, unless a rehearsal space or something, unless you get the couple of big rooms, you're still going to cram into a space this size. We're pretty used to it. Play it live on Radio Boise. Yeah, their studio's not much bigger than this bedroom.
Oh, okay.
Playing live, so yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah, it'd be kind of cool. The only thing would be the camera angles. I might have to get some fisheye lenses so that I can get everybody everybody in the shot.
We would come with just like maybe 3 or 4 of us or something.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it'd have to be all 9. I'd want to have the whole. I'd like to have, but we'll see. We'll see.
Do it.
It's a long time. Not too distant in the future. I don't think. It's just a matter of picking up that drum set because. And I'd love to have one anyway.
Sure, they're fun.
Drums
to play with.
Have you messed around on electronic drums?
I have an electronic drum set at my house.
Oh, okay. What do you have?
A Yamaha. What is it? It's something I bought used from a friend of mine. I can't remember the model number.
Oh, okay. Is it okay to get a cheap one now? I imagine that they're probably fine because I see them online for like $300. I'm like, are these any good? Because the first one I ever messed around with was like I'd say a good 15 years ago. And it was a budget one, and it was not anything that you wanted to have.
Of course, they're well beyond that now. The main thing is this, and especially with sounds, it used to be, okay, maybe I got these great pads, but the module with the sounds doesn't have the greatest sounds. But now you have access to every sound. It's so easy to come up with any sound. Now it's just more are the pads quality? Can the pads take being hit over and over and over and still last? And they come up with those new pads that are cool that have like a real drum head. So if
I saw like the mesh.
Yeah, and you get the right sort of bounce and everything that you're used to.
So it doesn't feel as rubbery.
Right. Exactly.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be slick. Yeah, I love music. And I was going to ask you too. We're kind of bouncing around a little bit, but that's okay. About playing in front of people and. This is an idea I came up with just last week: is the extroverted versus the introverted musician, where you find your drive as far as playing music, whether it's how much of it is sitting and getting that idea that you're able to execute, and how much of it is versus playing in front of a crowd and then really getting that feedback in the moment.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, we've had this discussion about the introverts versus extroverts. I feel like a lot of musicians are pretty introverted in their personality, but they have something to say, they have something they want to express to people, and this and that, and the stage is a place they can do that without having to sort of interact so directly.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's the way I feel about, because I feel like I'm kind of introverted. But I can definitely get my thoughts across if I have an instrument and I have a microphone. And honestly, I feel much safer up on stage in my space than being out in the audience.
And what's your favorite? What's your favorite part as far as like the musical process coming up with the idea? Which do you enjoy more, playing in front of the crowd, sharing that, or that aha moment when you got something really good that you nailed? I guess you don't have to have a favorite, but
yeah, I think it's such different things because when you're writing the stuff, man, it feels good when you hit upon this idea and you get it all put together and you just listen to it back on the headphones. You're like, man, I love this. I absolutely love this. That's a moment that you have by yourself. I mean, when you just, that moment of creation, we feel like, man, I've really come up with something good. Can't wait till the band gets hold, whatever. And then I feel like, man, from the stage, there's nothing more gratifying than being on stage and hearing, especially seeing or hearing the crowd singing your song back to you.
Oh, cool.
That's the point where it so obviously has sunk in.
Yeah.
You know,
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be super awesome. I've played in groups where the people have sang along with the songs, but we were covering it so everybody knew exactly what was happening.
Right. But when they're doing it with your song, you know, and then you're like, okay, that person took the time to listen to this enough times. They've got these lyrics now committed to memory, and now here we are vibing on this thing. You know, it's like, the circuit is complete. I've made this connection to that person. That feels amazing. And it's a totally different than the sort of solitary feeling that you have of feeling like, I like this thing I just created, think it's really good. But when you get that validation from the audience.
Is there a song that you all wrote that tends to kind of get that response more frequently than others?
Not one that stands out in my mind. Okay. I guess one thing about related to that subject that stands out in my mind, I really love it when we'll do a song like I Emojuba, which is not even English. And yet, you know, we got these folks up here out in the wilds of Idaho singing in Yoruba. You know, that feels extra amazing. Yeah. And that feels like, wow, you know, we did our job right. We made it catchy enough and repetitive enough for it to sink in or whatever. So now they're singing something that's not even their language, and they're loving it, and we're loving it. Everyone's loving it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the words are.
No, it's more about just feeling what the vibe of the words is, and yeah, it feels good that they can feel that, even though we're using sounds and syllables that they've never ever put together like in that same way before.
So you have Meet Your People. People Meet Your People. Mm-hmm. Is there any other albums that Afrosonics has?
We have a first album, just self-titled Afrosonics.
Okay.
And so that should be up on all the outlets, the iTunes and Spotify.
Okay, maybe I missed that one on Spotify. I tend to be an album-oriented person, so maybe it was I just didn't get. I got into People Meet Your People because that first track it just like hooked me.
Oh, good.
So started replaying that one over and over again.
I'm with you, man. I'm super album oriented too. I like to listen to the album the way they, you know, the songs in the order that they made them, and you know, I feel that all that works together as the one thing. So I want to hear it the way the artist meant for it to go.
And the really good artists do have that cohesion throughout the entire thing. And I was going to ask you that too. 5 Desert Island albums. What are your 5? What are your 5 top that you can't do without?
I have to.
And how does that inspire your music with Afrosonics?
Well, I have to pick one Prince album, but he has so many, and they're all so good. Yeah. Just to narrow it down to one, I think I would pick the one. I think it was just the unofficial title was New Power Generation, but when you bought the CD case, it had, you know, the symbol that he changed his name to.
Okay.
It had that symbol etched into the CD case, and that was sort of the title of the album.
Do you know the reason why he did that?
Yeah,
he changed because of the record.
Right, yeah, because he felt the record label was screwing him over, and you know, and using his name. Yeah,
I thought that was
slave on his face, all that stuff, and people thought he was crazy.
No, but it was really brilliant that he did that.
It really was, and he really was getting jerked around. You know, there's a guy who's cranking out, you know, music that's going to be with us for a long, long, long time to come. Some of those songs, and you know, the record company's making 80% of the money, and he's making 20. Something's wrong with that.
Yeah, you know? I was listening to a really interesting podcast with Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins, and he was talking about the whole, you know, back in the day, and so he would have been signed, I think, probably early 90s, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But then he says that, you know, you're basically on contract for your entire musical career, and they signed him so young,
Right.
that they just wouldn't even understand. They just saw the millions of dollars. But then you go in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 albums, and all of a sudden you're bigger than, you know, that cut is not
Yep.
as big.
And you're smarter and you're wiser, and you've you've seen yourself, you know, hopping those planes and sitting on those buses and doing the shows and the interviews and all that stuff, which, you know, when you're doing it for days on end, it gets really grueling. And then you're like, this other dude's sitting in an office somewhere, you know, working 9 to 5 and then going and doing coke and banging models after that. Why is that guy getting 80% of the money that my band is generating?
Yeah.
Something seems wrong with this picture.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a holdover from the early days of record companies, you know, going back to Elvis and, you know, even before that, Chuck Berry, people, just guys out there, they found talented guys playing music, and ding, 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 this clicks with the little girls. I think we can make money off this. And if we make $1 million and we give Elvis $100,000, he's going to be stoked. Because, you know, a guy like who came from nothing, he's going to be stoked, and he just doesn't have to know about the other $900,000 that I put in my pocket.
I think it's that bandwidth in the airwaves that everybody just had a stranglehold on, and now that's gone. I mean, it started with Napster. All of a sudden, it just kind of pulled the rug out from underneath it, and the same thing's happening with video and YouTube, and it's just
it did, and it really, you know, right. Napster was the beginning of the end for record companies as we know them, but maybe they should have died. I don't, you know, they weren't really serving artists, so maybe they should have gone the way that most of them went. And you know,
I like the selection. I mean, it's unfortunate that it's difficult to make a living with your creative endeavors, but the selection is amazing.
It is difficult. You as a musician will definitely have to work harder. You won't have, you know, a team of people working for you, but you could be your own team, you know? And I feel like it's more satisfying to sell 1,000 albums on your own. That sense of accomplishment of like, man, I made it. I put it out there. I did all the things, and you know, and 1,000 moved in. Say, we sold 10,000 albums because a bunch of suits came in and retooled our songs and made them into more radio friendly and that sort of thing. And that's why they sold those 10,000 albums. Is kind of a hollow victory, you know?
Yeah. It's when you get the consensus, and then everything gets muddled, and we were talking about your albums though. You picked Prince. That's 1 out of 5.
Yes, right. Yeah. Prince. So I think I'd go with that one just because it's that. No, I'm going to go with Sign of the Times because it's a double album, so that I have that much more Prince to listen to.
There you go. That's good. Efficient.
See, I would say like Tom Waits, Swordfish Trombones. That would probably be the one of his I would take. Muse. Black Holes and Revelations. That's an album that I just keep coming back to, and every time I put it on,
I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, Muse. Are you familiar with the band Muse?
No.
Oh, God.
How did I miss that?
Oh, look up Muse. They're
massive.
They're a huge band.
Okay.
And let's see. This is probably super cliche, but Rush Moving Pictures. You know,
okay.
I know Rush has a ton of other great albums. I'm a huge Rush fan, but Moving Pictures is their biggest one, but that's probably the one I would take because it's just so great. And then something, let's see. Probably want to take some. Let's come back to that.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of
Rush kind of seems like an outlier on that group. Although I don't know, like I said, I don't know Muse, but that seems
Muse has a little bit of Rush in them.
Okay,
you know, they're a power trio that very rock oriented, but just man, you know, so musical, so crazy musical that but catchy. Still in the same way.
Every I bet probably once a year I go down the rabbit hole of Neil Peart drum solos on YouTube.
Yeah,
because they're so engrossing. They're I was actually talking to somebody about. Are you familiar with the band Deerhoof?
Oh yeah, I love them.
Okay, it was really interesting when I saw them play, and then because that drummer to me is absolutely incredible, but he has like the inverse setup of a Neil Peart.
Yeah,
Neil Peart has like I think there's one where he was literally spinning in a circle.
Yeah,
but maybe
because the drum set surrounded him completely.
Yeah, and the gentleman from Deerhoof has, I think, 2 cymbals, a snare, and a bass drum.
Yeah, but I love how he does a lot with a little.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's pretty nuts. But those drum. I love a good drum solo. I love a good drum solo.
Yeah.
My favorite one of all time is Woodstock '69. Carlos Santana. He's got that little kid on the drums. Do you know the one I'm talking about? What was it? Oye como va? I don't know. Anyway, but he goes into like this like 5-10 minute drum solo after Carlos Santana totally shreds, and
Nice.
it's just this, and he's just a kid, but he's lightning quick, but still has that sense of real good sense of rhythm. It has like a real good downbeat on what he's playing and improvising over the top of it. But
Wow,
such a.
You're the first person I've talked to that goes that deep on drum solos.
Okay.
Mostly, drum solos are like, oh, it's time to go get a beer, or it's time to light up this doobie, just zone out until the music starts again.
I like drum solos a lot,
cool.
and I think they're one of the most difficult to make it interesting.
Yeah,
because you don't see a lot. I mean, guitar solos are almost a dime a dozen, but I think that's the reason why I picked up a guitar, because I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I'm like, I have to be able to do this in front of people. Never hit that level, but at the same time, It's like that's the most motivating aspect, and then drums, It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. I've picked up sticks a couple times and just to get that coordination down, and then imagining like all the different time signatures, and some people can keep the different time signatures in their heads with different limbs, and I'm just like, that is absolutely incredible.
When you see a drummer doing polyrhythms with his left hand and his right hand, and it's like, how are those things working together that way? It's amazing.
Yeah, I just discovered the importance of polyrhythms in making a song interesting, like a couple of years ago. And you guys definitely do that with your music. You have so many things layered in there, and I can definitely hear a lot of the 3. You do a lot of the 3/4, like makes it, kind of gives it that shuffly vibe over the top of the normal time signature. But the beat, they call it clave, and we use it a lot in the music, where it's like, rather than music feeling like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, it's just like ta 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 ta. It's all kind of built around that clave, 3 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So, and then it gives you immediately just zero right in on it.
Yeah. People all over the world. I think there's something natural about the clave rhythm. I think there's something built into us that gravitates towards that. I'm not sure what it is, but
have you ever seen that there's a video with Bobby McFerrin? It's not about rhythm, but he shows that if
about pitch.
Yeah, about pitch, how everybody has it ingrained in them across culture, that these notes when he
because he's jumping back and forth, and having saying, the taunting la, and then he goes up la 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 la, and he's jumping back and forth, and then he jumps to a third spot, and the whole audience automatically goes la. They move to the next note. Everybody moves to the same note. How did everybody instinctually know to do that? That video is amazing. I've done that in front of audiences before, just to see if it would work.
Oh, that's cool.
And it works. There's a 5-tone scale called the pentatonic scale, that it's just which is the thing that whole Bobby McFerrin thing is built around, because he keeps going through the bit. He ends up going through 5 notes without telling you where he's going, just by moving his body in position, and everybody just instinctively knew to sing these notes. It's that pentatonic scale is somehow built into us.
Yeah, I was curious about the Eastern music too, because apparently they have more notes in their scale, and so I've tried to mess with that a little bit, but that was just way beyond my level of comprehension musically, to be able to throw in those intermediate notes that I don't know. It's almost like you'd have to be raised around that type of music to be able to hear it.
It helps. It helps if you have come up hearing these, music based on these scales all the time.
Yeah. Have you delved into any of that? Like, I know that there are specific stringed instruments that come out of like India where they have those partial notes
Right.
like on the fretboards.
Exactly. And just the way, the instrument sort of helps define the scale because of the way your hand sort of naturally does this thing. And then this particular scale comes out of that hand position. And so sometimes, the instrument itself can dictate what the scale is just because it's natural.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what my point was with that exactly.
The intermediate notes.
Yeah. Just right. And so they'll choose, they'll choose different scales rather than the ones we use in Western music, which are very much just in a row. La, 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 la,
Mm-hmm.
They'll go crazy, grouping a bunch of notes together at the bottom and then making a big leap and grouping some notes together at the top and making that a scale or whatever. I mean, it's infinite possibilities.
I'm super curious about it, but I just can't. I could never grab my ear around it.
I feel like if I got too deep into explaining it, that people would be switching this off.
Well, we'll maybe do a follow-up podcast, just technical.
Right. If people want to listen to Guy talk music theory, I'd love it.
I think YouTube. I think it's the tutorial videos anyway that get most of the hits.
That's true. That's true.
We can just put an addendum, an appendix on this one, and we'll go into a tutorial about musical theory. That's one area I wish I knew more about because now having a keyboard in front of me, translating those things from my head onto the keyboard, it would be helpful to know some of the theory behind it, Right.
But and theory is super helpful, especially when you're in a group, because then if you all know theory, you can all speak the same language. It's real easy to describe. If you're trying to describe a melody or something to someone who doesn't know theory, you have to play it for them or plunk it out. But it's so much easier to just be like, hey, start on C, play whole step, half step, end on F or something like that.
Yeah.
And then
I bet.
just knows exactly what you're talking about.
There's a quote from Victor Wooten, and he said that if you don't know music theory, it's like being fluent in a language without being able to read and write.
It kind of is. Yeah, that's a well-placed quote.
Do you?
Oh, I was gonna wrap up the Desert Island.
Yes,
bit.
yes.
I just my last one would probably something to represent my sort of punk goth background, like a Bauhaus album, maybe Cure Pornography or Cure Kiss Me is good, or Peter Murphy. He's one of my favorite, the old lead singer for Bauhaus. His album Deep is an album that if I hear one cut, I got to hear the whole thing, just because I love it so much. Yeah, I'll go with that one. That'll be my last one, Peter Murphy Deep.
Peter Murphy Deep. Yeah. I need to write that one down too because
great album.
Peter Murphy Deep, because I'm not familiar with that one, but I always like to get new music as much as possible.
Sure.
Because I was listening to, or actually I was reading an article because Spotify has all the data about their listeners, and after the age of 30, I think it was like 32, most people quit listening to new music.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, isn't it?
I was 33 when I read that article, and I noticed I was kind of in a rut as far as like my playlist going over the same things that I had listened to when I was in high school, and I'm like, that's it. I'm wiping these out, and then we're going with all new stuff. So that's good.
I went on a raft trip with a couple of friends, and one of them happened to be from high school, and I hadn't talked to him that much since high school, so it'd been like 30 years since I'd seen him. But listening to tunes on this raft trip was like, dude, you haven't listened to a new song since 1984. You're listening to all the same songs we used to listen to in high school. Not one single new one. And he's perfectly happy living right there. It's like, I got all the music I need. Fine with it. I don't need to.
There's so much good stuff out there now, though. And it's just, I mean, infinite content. But it's nice and it's refreshing, and there's a lot of groups. I mean, you listen to Afrosonics. You guys are doing something very unique with your sound, and there are countless musicians out there that are doing really interesting things that are it's the difference. And it's not that mainstream. That I always think of what country music did to country as like being the epitome of like, let's just make it as popular as possible and hit all the right notes and follow the same chord structure. And there's a video online where this guy makes an amalgam of all the top country songs.
He plays 6 country songs at the same time, and you can't tell that there's 6 songs playing.
Yeah, it sounds like all the same thing.
Yeah.
So, but with all these bands out there creating music, there's just so much interesting sound out there and novelty, which I appreciate so much.
So to be stuck in a musical rut, especially when something like Spotify exists, there's just no excuse.
Yeah, or YouTube. You just start clicking, and then they keep playing you the next song, next song. It's super awesome. I
love that's the best thing, the thing that I think Treefort Music Festival has over any other music festival.
Oh, we forgot to even talk about Treefort too much. I guess we talked about your set last year.
We did.
You'll have to, I'm guessing you guys don't have your situation figured out as far as the times yet, because it's still pretty early.
It's a little early in the game yet. But, that'll be coming pretty soon. They still have to announce the last round of artists, I think. Mm-hmm. But there will be people I talk to and they say, well, I don't really recognize any of these, the headliners or anything. It's like, throw that away. Mm-hmm. Throw the this is not a festival where you go to see Beyonce or something. This is a festival where you go to discover. I love to have no agenda. I just love to start walking in every door where there's music and seeing if there's something I like. And every year I come up with at least a half a dozen things that just blow my mind. I never would have found out otherwise.
And I can't pronounce I caught a new act last year. It was Namadi Umba. I forget his name now. It's really hard to pronounce. But I wasn't even planning on going to the show. Just happened to walk by, because you're going down the street, doors are open. You hear music, you're like, this is a band I want to check out. Yeah. And it's incredible. I just wish that the city of Boise would let the main stage stay open later.
Just at least one more hour. Come on.
Yeah, it would be so helpful.
One more hour.
Because Cora Shrine at the end of the night is absolutely atrocious. You can't get in. And so it's kind of like one of those things. Do I miss one of the shows that I want to see on the main stage so I can wait in line for the later show at the Cora Shrine, or do you just? But there's so much music though. Yeah. It's just amazing. It's an amazing event.
I love, like last year, just walking down the street, just saw an acquaintance, and he's, hey, where are you headed? Oh, we're gonna go over to Linden Building to see Andy Rayborn. Andy Rayborn is a local guy who plays bass clarinet. I thought, all right, that sounds interesting. So he had bass clarinet, a keyboard that he didn't use very much, a looping pedal, and then a 13-piece choir. Oh, and he made music so astonishingly beautiful. Like, there were times I just couldn't move. It was one of the most unbelievable things I'd ever seen. I'm like, that to me is the consummate Treefort experience.
What's one of your favorite shows you've ever attended? Favorite concerts?
Let's see. Andy Rayborn. That's an obvious one. There's the band. Oh, I'm losing my point by not remembering their name. Just a band I saw at the Bouquet, and I remember they had a great story because they had a car wreck on the way there, yet they still made it, and they came and they just gave everything to their set. Oh boy. I feel horrible for not.
We can put it into the description.
Yeah. One of my favorite Treefort experiences is there's a guy that, we know a number of people in the New American community, and there's this guy, Elvis. It's his real given name is Elvis Muenamatale is his last name. And he played a set. Elvis' story is unbelievable. He grew up in the Congo in a little village, and he said he just, sitting in his village, living an ideal life, and his mother comes running into the village and just picks him up and says, run. That's all she said was run. And they started running, and he said they ran literally for 2 days straight, not stopping to eat. They just had to run. And his grandfather ended up getting killed in front of him. I think he had a cousin who got killed. He ended up getting separated from his and put into a camp and all. I mean, so just the point being, this guy lived, this guy lived a life none of us can imagine what it was like. The things that he has been through, we just cannot possibly imagine. And he came, Treefort, he's only been here in the States for about 4 years. and he played up at the Reef and just simply exploded the Reef with joy. Like the walls could not contain the joy that was coming off the stage from this guy. And which just blows my mind, you know, because you just think of someone who comes from a background like that is just going to be bitter and angry and withdrawn and everything. But no, he just, you know, he serves up a heap and help and a joy. And
appreciates what we take for granted.
Man, and I walked out of there, I just was walking on air, I was feeling so good. And I went next door to Graney's and I saw this band, and they had like a nice Mercedes van parked in front of there. So a really nice touring van. You go in and they had all these guitars up on stage, nice brand new stuff. And but a bunch of young kids that just got up there and was like, "Whoa, everything sucks. I hate everything." You know, and I'm like, "Oh, this is horrible. What is wrong with these kids? You have everything. Why are you singing about how everything sucks?" Elvis went through so much, and he just blew a room up with joy. That is, you know, that's another great Treefort experience.
That's cool.
You know,
That's
what I look for when I go there.
I've since moving to Boise, I'm originally from South Dakota. Since moving to Boise, I've had really amazing concert experiences. Like the music community here is super solid.
Yep.
And then just some of the acts that come through to like the Knitting Factory, which I consider pretty, you know, it's a pretty small venue, especially, you know, but then some of the groups that come through and play it, it's like, wow, this seems like it feels intimate.
Right. Yeah, a lot of those artists, when they play in Seattle, they're playing a 5,000 seat room or something, and you get to see them in a 900 seat room. That's amazing.
Super fun. So we're at an hour. I was going to have you end on a question. One of my friends, I call him the Abyss. His name's Wes. He comes up with some off-the-wall questions.
All right.
So if you were gifted a giant warehouse, what would you do with it?
Oh, man. Okay. Well, it's going to be video studio, rehearsal studio, probably a living space. You know, I would, like, if it was mine, I would build me a living space and just live there. Yeah. Just an all-around art studio. Music, dance, acting, video, ceramics, whatever. I would just cram it full of art stuff.
A bed and maybe a toilet in the corner.
Yeah. Because that's, you know, I feel like those are the things I need to survive much more so than a 50-inch screen TV and a nice couch or something. I would just to have this warehouse full of art and whatever sort of artistic discipline I'm feeling that day, I can walk over to a computer and start working on my graphic design, which I know nothing about, but you know, Photoshop is sitting here and I'm going to tinker with it for a while.
Yeah.
You know, that would be the ultimate.
Cool.
Yeah. And then I just have great parties, you know, bring all my artist friends over there and start
with a big opening party.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one.
Totally do that.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Todd.
Thanks for having me. This was a blast.
Yeah.
I love it.
And
can't wait to hear it.
We'll be in touch.
All right.
And good luck at Treefort.
Thank you.
Greetings to you, my brothers and sisters. Salutation to you, mothers and fathers. Through music comes the hope and path to harmony. Through songs comes the fellowship to the rhythm of life. Raise your voice and sing.
Oh yes, people. love will